Sorry about the pole, if you're wondering about the pole, everybody. The pole is in the way, of course, because we have the rain cover on. Very miserable looking whiteback vultures, hunched over, looking for all the world like the birds and harbingers of death and doom that they are. And of course they are hunched like that because it's cool. It's not cold, I wouldn't describe it as cold, it's certainly cool. And they are unable to fly properly because it's just simply too cold. Alrighty, apparently we're going to go from the mobile tent to the fixed tent.
Indeed, in the fixed tent still, and I'm up and down, walking around. I cannot decide what I want to do with myself this afternoon because I keep getting sucked into looking at the dam cam, which is proving to be highly entertaining this afternoon with all the elephants that are visiting it. And I wonder, once those elephants move away, what else is going to be there. But should we take another look? I'm sure you'll enjoy watching some elephants. There we go. Now, they seem to be on the move quite a bit now. At one point, they all gathered, of course, to the northern side of the dam, where they were greeting each other. Perhaps there were some long-lost relatives that hadn't been seen in a very long time. Now they have all decided to approach the dam, as you can see. Well, not all of them, but quite a few of them come together and all are going to have a drink, which is very, very nice. Now, elephants need to drink a large amount of water, as most of you know this. They will be getting loads of it at this time of the year from the vegetation that they're eating, but they still need to they still need to drink lots of it. So sometimes not just drinking once a day, but also drinking twice a day will help. But on a cool day like today, we're not really, even us, we're not using or not losing that much water. And you know who I've just spotted? I just spotted Fang, the elephant, the big matriarch in the middle. She's got a tusk that points back towards her body. It's a bit difficult to see now, but she's basically facing the other way. She's just turning to the right. She's just opened her ears, and now you can see her tusk clearly. That is Fang. That is so cool, and I love this. I love the fact that I've seen some of the elephants now at Wild Earth. I've seen them before down in the south of the Sabi Sand. So I've grown a lot with these animals. This is for obviously the animals that hold territories I haven't seen before. For instance, a lot of the lions and the leopards are all new to me up here. However, the fact that I can say that I've seen a number of different elephants, we get to watch almost every single day, I see them down in the south, is just very, very special to me. And Fang is an incredible elephant. I'll never forget the one sighting I had with her. It was so beautiful. It was out on a massive open plain. There must have been about 40 of them all together, because the herd that she lives amongst is not a small herd. It's quite a few of them. And they were just walking about, and there was teeny tiny little calves. Look at that one right in front, just underneath Fang. There's a very, very small calf getting lost amongst everyone. And it was just really beautiful. It was just really, really beautiful, of course, to see them crossing the open plain. They walked right past my car. It was quite spectacular. Now, Willow, who is only 4 years old, you're wondering if they get sand in their eyes. They definitely do. But the thing is with elephants is that they've got lovely long eyelashes, and just as we as humans have eyelashes, and all the animals out here, well, most of them, eyelashes help protect the dust from going inside your eyes. So they've got those, but another special adaptation is the elephant's trunk. And when they do get something in their eye, sometimes you'll actually see them rubbing their eyes. If you make a fist and you bring it towards your eyes and you move your hands around, that's exactly what an elephant will do with its trunk. And they can remove debris like that, which I think is pretty amazing. And I'm sure when they splash around in the water like this, they are able to clean themselves quite well. But how tiny is that little elephant? It is so small that it's still going underneath the body of all the moms. Look at it, just hiding underneath Fang there. Oh, this is so cool. Now, I don't know, it could be her calf. I haven't seen her for a while now. It feels like it's been ages. But when I saw her last time, she had a relatively young calf. Oh, Oh, loads of trumpeting going on at the moment. I'm sure you can all hear that if you've got the volume turned up at the dam. There's a little one that's now gone underneath the water. I sure am having a lucky day with swimming elephants. This is spectacular. Look at that little one coming over just to make sure that the little one's fine. I love that you always find the older siblings coming through and just making sure that they're being watched and not getting themselves into too much trouble, because I think it's quite easily for a young elephant to find itself in a little bit of a pickle. So they need to make sure that they're careful of that. I'm so sorry, Alice. Please may I have that question again from Road Rash? Could several of those little elephants be orphans? That is a question from Road Rash. Not necessarily 7 of them. That's quite a large amount to be orphaned. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, a lie. Fortunately, the success rate of an elephant calf is actually quite good. What will happen is that often you'll find the other females getting involved with the upbringing as well. When it comes to disciplining and just general well-being, they all look after each other, so they've got a very good chance, unlike of course lions and leopards who tend to lose their young. The same thing goes with impala, but of course those are for different reasons. These little elephant calves stay by their mother's side for a number of years, and you know what elephants can be like. If you come in between an elephant, you'll find yourself in trouble, let alone if you mess with one of her calves. And if it is the newest calf, you're really going to get onto the short end of the stick, and well, good luck to you. But there are just so many of them here, so the unlikelihood is that they're probably not orphans. Their moms are probably around somewhere, but remember, it could be just a number of different offspring from females. You can sometimes see a female moving around with 4 or 5 offspring, and that's great, and that's how herds all start, is that they're all females, they're all very closely related. But that is great. Now, I don't know who's sitting at the dam. Is it Jamie? Is it Brent? I'm actually not sure who it is. It must be Jamie that was sitting there on the right-hand side. How cool is this? And what we're going to do now is we're going to change view slightly now. We're going to actually... Oh, I'm not sure. He's... I know we're live. Alice is panicking. I think she's worried that she doesn't know that I'm live. No, we're still live. I think we're pretty good. But I think what we're going to do now is, we obviously saw Jamie. She's sitting on the dam wall, and I think it would be quite nice to take a view from her side.
This is incredible. I didn't realize how many elephants were here. This is utter magic. Watching them slip and slide, play on the wall. Oh. This is really, truly incredible. What a beautiful sighting. I think this is the most elephants I've ever seen out in the open like this. Oh, this is stunning. Apparently it's Fang's herd, which of course has me desperately looking for the little one that I saw when it was only just a few hours old, which Brent has never quite forgiven me for, because he was the one who found the placenta. But it was magic. And the sounds, just listen, just listen. This is so cool. And you know what half of those noises are, in my opinion? Overstretched females trying to discipline youngsters. Overexcited. They've been swimming and slipping and sliding, and now they're chasing each other around. The big ones are bullying the little ones, and the females are frantically trying to keep them all under control. They're like overburdened school teachers on a field trip. That's what half of those trumpeting screams and noises are for. Too cool. There's Fang at the back. Here goes Fang there with her backwards facing tusk. The little ones accompanying her. Oh, chaos! Utter chaos! Oh, there's one baby that's fallen in the mud. Bar in the way. Sorry, Craig, that was my fault. But that little baby's desperately trying to catch up with the rest of them. The cedar point, you want to know if the herds will fight with each other. Not really, no. You do sometimes get a degree of agitation, but a lot of the time it's just happy to see each other. And particularly the youngsters get a bit overwrought in the whole process. And they see friends of theirs, they go running to greet them, they play, they get involved in the whole process. And it does mean that the females have to do a little bit of talking and communicating to sort that all out. And Fang's herd is big, but this is not all of Fang's herd. This is not all just Fang's herd. This must be at least 2 herds together, probably more. I would guess lots more. I'm going to go forward a little bit now, just so we can get all of the action without the roof in the way. This is epic! Who needs to go anywhere when you've got this right on your doorstep? Taylor, how cool is this? I know you're watching in the tent. Let's see what kind of a view that gives Craig, or if I've made life more difficult. No, I think I've made it slightly better. Little ones playing in the mud. Oh man, it makes me want to be an elephant. Are you more than welcome? No problem. There's just another vehicle wanting to know that they weren't going to get in our way. I'm not bothered at all. They must come and see this. It's too fantastic for words. Especially if you're a guest that's paid so much money and it's been pouring with rain. These moments make up for it. How many did we count? How many elephants have you counted, all of you? Have we got... Okay, so there's a conclusion that there was maybe about 60, but there could be more. And the cool thing is that those elephants that we were with earlier, I think this is all part of one group. I think that the elephants just stretch all the way from here to where I was. This doesn't happen all the time. This is special. What is that one at the back doing, Craig? There's one on the ground behind, close to that dead tree. A little bit to the right there. A little bit to the right, a bit further to the right. Oh, I think he's up now. Oh, he's up. He was sitting on his backside, waving his trunk in the air. Fully grown male. Sitting on its bottom, waving its trunk up in the air. I love it. H. Macy, speaking of elephant body language, you want to know why do they grab their tusks with their trunks? Some of the time it can actually be a sign of aggression, particularly from big dominant bulls. They sort of rest their trunk over their tusks as a way of showing just how massive they are. But it's not always the case. In the case of these young bulls, they're not quite at that stage just yet. Although that's the gang of teenage boys that is at a party with their parents, but they're a little bit too grown up and a little bit too cool. They kind of have to go off on their own, a little bit separately to the rest of the social group. That's what's happening there. 5 young troubles. There's the biggest one on the left. He's obviously the leader of the gang. They're all going to look up to him. Oh, and there's a bit of bullying going on. Prodding in the side. It's so cool. I had to come here. I just had to. I could hear them all the way from where we were, and I just had to come and have a look. I know Taylor's been with them on the dam camera, but when I heard that it was Fang especially, So much talking going on. Now, not only do the females have to contend with overwrought youngsters, but males as well. A couple of big bulls that are also causing chaos in the herd, and then slightly younger bulls who are fighting each other. So all of the noises that we've been hearing are elephants upsetting elephants. Cook, you wanted to know... Somebody's venting their frustration. When in doubt, throw a stick around. I can't even remember. Oh, Cook, you want to know if they're under any danger from a lurking lion? No. There aren't any lions in this area that we know of. It's always a possibility that a lion might pop out, a surprise lion, but that we haven't realized is here, especially after rain. But the chances of a lion hunting an elephant, especially in this area, is so slim. They don't like lions, and they will chase them if they see them. But I don't think that's what's causing the upset here. Elephants are not often hunted by lions. They are occasionally when it is their only possible food source, because it's dangerous, and it's usually only lion prides that have learned the technique. And these young bulls that are scuffling off to the left there are now running to join the rest. Those young bulls would be the target of a lion hunt. They're young enough that they're on the outskirts, and they're almost at the point where they're going to start. And you, little one, what are you doing? You silly monster. Have you lost your mum? No, you're just in chaos. Now you're trying to be, now one of the other females trying to gather the young one up. You're just being naughty. It does occasionally happen that young elephants get separated from their mothers, but not for long. Mom is always hyper-vigilant, and a host of babysitters will be on hand to go and collect it. I never want this to end. I want them all to come back again. I wish they would. Hey, little boy. This has all been very exciting, hasn't it? Friends to play with. When we first came onto the dam wall, we actually had to do a very rapid retreat backwards, because there was a female chasing a young male away, and she was about to come barreling into us. We had to reverse very quickly away from her and put a tree between us. Cool. I'm glad that I got to come and experience this as well. It's just been so special. But I know that Taylor was watching them over the dam camera, and from our views, let's go and find out how she's feeling about all of this.
Jamie, I've been watching your every move. There's an impala. He's standing just off into the distance, not very far of us, and he's sort of gurgling away, announcing his territory. Maybe he's going to come darting past us, which will be quite exciting. He'll end up getting quite a fright. But as you can see, I'm holding in my hands a tortoise shell. This once was a leopard tortoise. Not particularly big. You can see I can fit my hand over it quite easily. Look at that. So it's not huge. So this is, I would say, a middle-aged leopard tortoise. Now, there's a couple of cobwebs in here, so we'll stick the microscope in. We'll try and put the light on and see if we can find anything inside here. But I just think that they are fantastic. And I hope that we get to see a few more tortoises before we go into winter and we start to see, well, we stopped really seeing them. And they're really, really quite lovely. We haven't been seeing Gregory as often either, and this is quite a nice gauge to see when the tortoises are going to start to estivate. And if you're wondering who Gregory is a female speaks hinged tortoise that comes and visits camp on a regular basis. She is known to bite toes and shoelaces, and she likes to push marula fruits around when they are on the ground, because we have a couple of marula trees in camp, but now all the marula trees have finished bearing their fruit, so she doesn't come and visit us as often anymore. But I also think that she's preparing for, well, the cold spell that's about to hit us. So she won't be coming out very often. But like we've been saying, our reptiles out here, they don't hibernate like normal ones. They come and go as they please. They'll hide away on the cooler days, and on the warmer days you might see them out potentially looking for a meal. There's a couple of birds that's all making noise. I'm just seeing if any of them are coming close enough to do this, so I can see outside the tent. Okay, I'll go up. False alarm. No one's out there. Sounds like maybe a tawny flank prinier just teasing us. But these guys, just like we saw those elephants swimming around, are incredible swimmers too. Can you believe that? A leopard tortoise is one of the few tortoises that can swim. They've got a lot of space at the top of their shell, so they've got very big lungs that are able to inflate. Am I not getting comms or anything? Am I missing? I don't know. Were you trying to talk to me, Alice?
No.
Oh, just checking. I thought Alice was maybe trying to talk to me. I saw Senzo touch his earpiece, and I thought, oh, I've lost communication. They're asking me to do something, and I'm not doing it, because that happens quite often out here, me and my earpiece. But yeah, so they're able to float, and then they use, well, their paddle-shaped feet to move quite slowly through the water, which is pretty impressive. So don't worry if you do see a tortoise in a puddle of water. You don't need to panic. It might not be drowning, it might just be a leopard tortoise, and they absolutely love the water. Now, we were talking about senses with James a little bit earlier, and we were talking about tasting with the tongues of the lizards and the snakes. Now, tortoises, of course, don't have a tongue like that at all. They don't have a forked tongue. It's completely different. So I don't think that they're utilizing tasting sort of pheromones with their tongue through the Jacobson organ. I think that they rely on other things. I think their eyesight is all right. They do have little ear openings. I don't know how well their hearing is, actually. We'll have to do a bit of research on that. But their sense of smell, I'm sure, must be quite acute. That's obviously positioned right on the front of their faces, where I don't even know why I'm saying that, because everybody has a nose on the front of their face. Nobody's got a nose anywhere else but over there. Very silly of me, not thinking. But let's see if I can get the microscope. I want to just, before we even go to it, I'm going to have a quick play and just have a look and see if I can find anything in here. Now I need to figure out how to turn the light on a bit more. Let's put it down like this. Pull some more cables. See, I have to now watch the monitor to figure out what I'm shining at. Who's that? There might be a daddy longlegs in here. I've seen a few daddy longlegs popping up in the tent. Oh no. There might be a brown button spider in here too. And Lynn, you're a bit concerned about me. I'm absolutely hopeless with this microscope. It doesn't look like there is anything. I did see a couple of webs, which I've now apparently... Oh, you might. I don't think... If I shine it in the light, can you see down the tortoise? Can you see down the tortoise? You might be able to see a few little cobwebs. So I suspect at some point with this tortoise shell just sitting on the shelf, well, this would be the perfect home for a little critter. Well, it doesn't look like there's much happening in there. It's okay. It's very, very difficult for us to see in there. That's okay. But yes, we'll put it back up on the shelf, and then we'll see who else comes and lives inside. Here we have another one. Let's check this one. No, and this is a different one. This is the Speaks hinge tortoise. So we've got both species of tortoise here. Here we go. You can see the hinge. So slightly flatter, slightly more elongated, whereas the leopard tortoise seems to be a bit more on the rounded side, but also not very big. But this is almost a fully grown Speaks hinge tortoise. They get slightly bigger than this, but they really have nothing on the leopard tortoise. And I know leopard tortoises can weigh up to 40 kilograms, but that would be an exceptionally old tortoise. These guys, much less than that, maybe 3 or 4 kilograms, maybe even a little bit less than that. I'm just trying to think. This one's empty, so it doesn't really mean... We could do weights. We could fill them up. This could be a serious thing with tortoise shells. And not only could the animals utilize them, but we could actually find some really big old leopard tortoise shells, fill them with cement, stick a stick through them, and we could use them as weights. Could do that. How great is that? Always got to do your fitness routine. Right, now, well, I'll stop being ridiculous. I'm going to put these tortoise shells away. James seems to be all about the impala today.
Yeah, it's all about the impala today, everybody. There they are. And Taylor, I don't think that you should ever stop being ridiculous. Being ridiculous is very important, Taylor. It's a very important trait in a human being. The ability That would be ridiculous. Now, there we have 2 young rams and a little ewe behind. And you can see, but for their horns, they're almost exactly the same size. I guess the little males are slightly taller now. And these youngsters seem to have formed their own little herd. They're quite young to be without adults, but there were tracks of quarantine male leopard coming down towards us here, which must make many of you think, gosh, where is he? And well, that would be a good question. We're on Cheetah Plains. We've come across here to the far east to see if we can't pick up on perhaps quarantine or, well, any other leopard really. And this lot looking a little bit uneasy, but I don't think that's too unusual. They don't seem to be with any adult supervision, so perhaps they're just sort of young teenagers out on a... What would we call that, David? You wouldn't call it a double date. They're too young for that. They'd be on a, what, a group outing, I suppose. They've gone to the pub when they told their parents they were going, in fact, to the movies. And now they're a bit nervous because, well, they don't know what's around. What's there? Young buck. Penny, a nice question from you about delaying birth, and I mean it obviously opens up a huge topic, but the more specific nature of your question is, would a female impala be able to delay birth to a time of day when the predators are less active? And the answer, I believe, is not necessarily, but I think that you'll find that they do time the births to try and give birth. I think it's... When do they do it? I think it's supposed to be early morning that they do it, which of course is when the predators mostly will start to go to sleep and lie down. But more than the time of day, Penny, what they try and do is find cover. They'll find a nice, easy sort of piece of cover where they can get away from the attentions of any nasty predators that might want to come and devour them or their youngsters. Now, of course, there is that whole ridiculous story that impala are able to delay the birth of their lambs for months at a time. And that's in order to wait for sort of more favourable conditions. So if there's a drought, they won't give birth until sort of February if they have to. And that, of course, is complete nonsense. But could they delay it for a day? I don't know if that's possible. I don't think it's possible because certainly with human beings, we know, of course, that when birth begins, birth begins. When labour begins, when the waters break, that is the end of that. There's no kind of holding the process back. Nature takes its course. Alrighty, nothing going on at the 3 in the row pan. So we're going to head across to the far east. I know there were also reports of Vutomi, the young male leopard, being around Cheetah Plains pan and Buff pan. So we'll go and check those 2 pans before we start making our weary way back towards the west. The weather, well, it keeps closing in and then coming back again, and it looks alright, and then sort of closes in again, but it's held quite nicely for the last little while, so I think we'll be okay. Marvellous to have had so many elephants around the place. Now, Monique in London, I think it's a long time since I've heard from you. Anyway, I might be wrong, but I think it's well worth a welcome back, Monique. Perhaps you've been watching and just not asking so many questions. You say, if the rain stops now, will there be sufficient water to see us through basically the dry season? You've used until August, but of course the dry season could easily last to the beginning of November. Monique, yes, I believe that there has been sufficient rain this year to see us through to then. I think the dams are sufficiently full. I think that the water table is sufficiently high to maintain a decent amount of grass to see us and tie us over until the next time we get rain. So yeah, I think we've had enough. Especially, I mean, this last weekend, There were almost 40 millimeters, which is about 2 inches, just shy of 2 inches of rain, which is a lot for this time of the year. We don't often get rain like that at this time of the year, so I think that's pretty good. There may be the odd shower in June and July, I mean sort of maybe 1 or 2 millimeters or so, so a 1/10 of an inch or a 20th of an inch, but it's most likely that we're coming right to the very end of the rainy season now, and like I say, I think quite unusual for us to be having the amount of rain that we have over the last few days. We shall not be, we'll be hugely grateful for all of it. And Lady Starfire, you're wondering about the vehicles we'll have in the Mara, because of course it is raining there now. Their drought has finally broken, which is a great relief. They've had a dreadful, dreadful time in Kenya of late. You say, will we be in covered vehicles? Yes, we will. They'll be very much like these ones. They'll be the long wheelbase version though, so they'll be a bit longer, but your picture won't change. There'll just be a bit more space behind the cameraman, and the roof will probably be more purpose built, and so you won't have the poles in the shot with any luck, and it just won't look like we've got a roof, but yes, there will be a roof on. You're actually not allowed to drive there without a covered vehicle, so we have to have a covered vehicle, and so yes, there will be a roof. It'll look very much like this one, but hopefully be clean out of shot. Everything on Cheetah Plains disappeared, except 1 or 2 flowers hanging on to the flush of their youth. I know how they feel. What a nasty thing to say, not today. Yeah. I suppose no matter how old you get, you'll never be as old as me, not so? Yeah. Fair enough. I always like this little pan because it looks like a storybook pond. One would expect to have a little frog, Jemima Puddle Duck, perhaps, floating around here. Who was the frog in Beatrix Potter? Did she have a frog? Or am I thinking of Toad Hall? I probably am. No, man, there was definitely a frog. His name was Jeremy, I think. Come on, everybody, help me out here. Beatrix Potter, a frog. Jeremy. I can see him. He had funny little satin shoes. It'll come to me. Anyway, he wasn't in there, and nor was Jemima Puddle Duck, or nor any of the other characters. Somebody help me out. Come on, Jeremy from Beatrix Potter. The frog. No, nothing but a stunned silence out of the final control. This man could be talking such inane rubbish on a safari. Maybe Taylor will help me. Alright, we're arriving at Cheetah Plains Pan, where almost certainly Vatomi will be killing something enormous. Maybe a buffalo. Here we go. Come on, Vatomi, don't let me down. Be what I need you to be. Oh, I can't hear the groan of a buffalo or the alarm calling of a impala. And you see Vatomi killing a buffalo anywhere? No. Not. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate indeed. I don't see him killing a buffalo either. Well, this is Cheetah Plains Pan, everybody. Not quite the storybook pond of the last one, where the unknown Beatrix Potter frog was hopefully to be seen. Oh, I really have parked in a dreadful position. And let's just keep going. We'll keep going to Buff Pan. Wondering if I have any communications here at all. Ah, right, no communications. Let's head across to Jamie.
Well, it seems as though I'm not quite sure if you lost James in mid-sentence or... Oh, okay, apparently James couldn't hear anything. There we go. That explains it. James disappeared off your screens rather abruptly, for which we do apologise. Attack of the gremlins. I'm actually surprised we haven't had more gremlins, given the amount of water that has fallen from the sky. Touch wood. I'm so impressed by the amount of rain that we've had. So unexpected, but we're definitely not complaining. And it seemed as though the rains just brought all the elephants out to play. Every single road on this reserve is just full of elephant tracks. And that was a very special sighting at the dam. It really, really was. A special waterhole sighting. Not an abandoned dung ball. I mean, obviously those are all balls of dung in the road. But on the right there, it looks as though somebody... Oh dear, how sad is that? That's a dung ball that's been rolled by a dung beetle. But where's the dung beetle? Oh, how sad. I wonder what happened to it. I wonder if it got displaced, or perhaps the dung was not of sufficiently good quality for said dung beetle. Can't imagine why that dung ball has been abandoned. Perhaps a bird caught it in mid-dung ball roll. That would also be quite tragic. All that hard work, and spend the last few moments of your life pushing dung around. Seems a little bit unfair, doesn't it? Oh well, one of those mysteries not to be solved anytime soon. So my plan for the rest of the evening is to go to the hyena den. We've been spoiled with elephants, which are my favourite animal to sit and watch. Now we can go and be spoiled by hyenas, which are my other favourite animal to sit and watch. That's the dream anyway. I haven't been... Every time I've been to the hyena den, Ribbon has not been there. I'm hoping that today might be different. Perhaps the change in time might create different or inspire a different response in her. And don't forget, while we trundle along, to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. I want to go and sit through that elephant sighting all over again. I actually just want to go and sit with those elephants. But they've all disappeared into some very dense vegetation. Well, although everything out here is looking really clean and rather beautiful, Taylor's found you something specific that is very pretty.
Oh, Jamie, I thought you were just about to tell me how clean and beautiful I looked today, and then I was going to say, well, yes, I did have a shower. No, I'm just teasing. I should have gone and joined the elephants for a bath. I still reckon they would have loved to have had my company. Now, this is something that I've been dreading about talking about. It's my worst thing in the bush. So I think if we can go across to the microscope so I can show you. Let's go take a closer look at this thing I don't like. Right, so, look at what we've got under the microscope. Sensor very kindly found it for me. It looks like it was most likely found on the floors. It's got a bit of hair and cobwebs and all sorts of things on it. Now, this is, like I said to you, my least favorite thing in the bush. It's one thing that I don't get excited about, but it is indeed a stink bug. Now, stink bugs are pretty incredible, if you like them. Not like me, but they kept getting into my food in Zambia, and they would disrupt our dinners and all those types of things, so that's why they're not my favorite. However, they are very, very important to some people, a lot of people in Africa, because like a lot of the insects out here, they're actually edible. Even though they have got a chemical defense, it doesn't mean that they're toxic, and I think Byron is actually talking about that this morning, how it's really just a foul taste that you'll get. It's not very pleasant, and there are many people that actually eat them. Can you believe that? So even here, where we are in Limpopo, the province of Limpopo, there are people that harvest stink bugs. So what they do is that once they have collected them, in massive baskets, and I'll see if I can pull up some images from Google on how they actually harvest them. But anyways, once they're very brave enough to go through and try and collect them, they will separate the live ones from the dead ones. They'll take the dead ones, they'll pull their heads off, and then they will squeeze out all of those horrible tasting, foul tasting toxins. And just as we chat about it, I'm going to move it around. I'd like to see what the underside looks like. So they do that, and then they can dry them, which I think is pretty spectacular too. So they will, look at the color underneath there. They will dry them, and then you can eat them. They say you can eat them with salt, and apparently they're very nutritious. The live ones, what they do is they put them in warm water and they stir them around, and obviously that makes them panic and release all of their horrific chemicals. They then discard that water, and they do the same process. They'll pull off of their heads too, and you can fry them. You can do a number of different things with them. And I've read that, and now this is interesting, which I find quite funny actually. They read that if you eat these as a sort of a snack, they can actually help cure a hangover. Can you believe that? I think that is quite amazing. But I'm going to turn it over one last time. Stink bugs are very easy to identify. I'll show you why now. Dimitri, you said that you'd eat this. Dimitri, rather you than me. I'm struggling with my tweezers, as you can see. Come on. Just want to show you why it is a stink bug, because they look fairly similar to shield bugs, don't you think? This is now proving a lot more difficult. Haha, there we go. Almost. Hair and cotton and all sorts of things. And that is on the stink bug. It was obviously found in camp. Maybe in the bathroom, eh, Senzo? In the bathroom? Yep, in the bathrooms. And then, of course, their antenna. Let me see if I can focus. There we go. Let me focus on the antenna. They should have a 5-segmented antenna, which is a little bit difficult to see, unfortunately, with all the debris. But beautiful creatures. Now, Boy638, thank you for your question. You're wondering how would you describe the smell, that horrible smell. Well, smelling it, it's quite harsh. It sort of reminds me of orange skins, that sort of citrusy smell, but not a nice citrus smell, a really unpleasant citrus smell, and chlorine, and something else. I don't know what else it is, but there's just this, it's a really strange, bizarre smell. And then when you bite into them, it tastes even worse than that. It's an instant gag reflex. It's horrific. It's so unpleasant. And when you get more than one, and I can tell you, when you've been grading roads for 9 hours of your day out in the Lower Zambezi National Park, and you come back and sort of dinner is actually your only meal because you've missed lunch and breakfast because you're just too busy working hard and you just want to get the job done, of course, and you take a bite of food and you think this is delicious, and then your second bite of food has very crunchy, and there wasn't anything crunchy in the first bite. You know that you've gobbled up a couple of stink bugs, and you basically just have to spit your food out. You pardon, everybody excuses you, you can pardon yourself later, but you do not need to explain when you spit out your food off the edge of the table. But how cool is that? That's something that I do not like very much. There are many people out here that actually rely heavily on stink bugs as a food source, but for us they really are just a nuisance. But how cool was it? You know, that's one thing that I didn't quite realize is how beautiful the stink bugs actually were under the microscope. So even though they're not my favorite creature, they're definitely very important out here. They feed on plants and they'll suck the juices from plants and things like that. There's many things that eat them. So you've got spiders that will feed on them, birds, monkeys will love to eat them, and then, well, humans too. We don't really waste anything. We try and eat as much as we can. But I just found that fascinating about stink bugs. But I hope you enjoyed that. A very hairy little stink bug. Now, of course, James has been all about the impala today. He's hoping to find Hosanna on a buffalo kill. Let's jump back on board with him and David and see if he's managed to find that very unlikely sighting.
So sorry about that, everybody. Apparently James has disappeared off your screens once again, and you had such a magnificent view of our roof. It's beautiful, isn't it? You have an idea of just how carefully it's strung. Beautifully done. I say that because I was partially responsible for stringing it. We're continuing on our way towards the hyena den, and I have to say, apart from the 10 million elephants that were at Vuyatela Dam, not to exaggerate at all, it is very, very quiet out here. All of the animals are hiding after a day of rain and then a little bit of sun, rain, a little bit of sun. It's still a little bit nippy, but let's see what we can find. There's also certain roads that we can't drive at the moment because it's so sodden that we end up leaving huge ruts in the road that actually do a considerable amount of damage. Now, there's certain places we don't go. I had to go all the way around. I couldn't go across the dam wall. I had to go back and across and around, because if I did drive through, there's one section of that dam wall that basically just disappears underneath your tires, and I think the passage of 1 or 2 vehicles would result in a rather wrecked road. I think I saw some impala up ahead of us. I'd love to show you the hornbill, but the roof is in the way, so we'll go with the impala. Hello, Soggy. Has it been a little bit nippy out here, Shame. I do feel for them. It's unusual for this time of year to have rain. And rain, of course, we need, but a cold temperature combined with rain, and there's a couple of animals that actually could struggle as a result. Eland are very sensitive, I know, to these sudden cold and rainy snaps. In certain areas, they end up getting pneumonia. And warthog piglets can also be quite sensitive to it. So as wonderful as the rain is, it can have its disadvantages at times. It's not too chilly though. Oh, and there's the big ram in front of me, pushing his luck, trying to see if this female is ready for mating. But she looks to me to be quite young. And of course, nothing's better than rubbing your pre-orbital glands on vegetation, just to make sure you know that everybody knows that you're big and scary. And also, bush thrashing like that is an intimidation technique. Now, he's the dominant male of this area for now. And James, you want to know, why do some impala start rutting sooner than others? I think it's a combination of things. First of all, impala will rut at different, not quite at different times of the year, but the rut will start at different, whether it's between sort of May to around about, oh, he's after them. I know. Craig's chuckling quietly in the back. There is something intrinsically entertaining about the whole thing. Obviously it's natural and it's part of what they do, and it's actually quite a tough time for the male impala, but they do look comical while they're going through it. Oh yes, we're talking about rutting times. Different parts of the country, different parts of the continent, the rut might be a little bit extended or a little bit delayed. It depends on the rainy season itself and the weather conditions and the ecological conditions of that area. But specific to here, I guess it might be that some male impala actually are in such good or better physical condition than others. They might be ready to go into that rutting season initially. They might just be naturally bigger and naturally stronger, and they're the first to start that whole mating process, but then they lose strength as they focus their attentions on the whole breeding season. They lose their strength, and then the next set will come along, and then they'll recover, and then the next set will come along. So it's actually quite a clever thing that nature has done in allowing certain individuals to become dominant in an area initially. And I think you'll probably find, like with territorial male lions, when they first take over a territory, there's that hormonal increase in testosterone, and you'll probably find it's exactly the same with male impala that become dominant. Once they've fought their way into attaining a territory, their testosterone level doubles than that of a normal ram. So it's a clever thing because it allows the genetics to be kept fresh. It's not like one male. You're shame, girl. Is it safe yet? Bonnie, speaking of sexual maturity of impala, you want to know how old they have to be to mate. The impala will be sexually mature at around about 1.5 years, both males and females. However, the males actually, even though they go through the increased hormones of the rutting season, they'll only actually really be able to compete for a female or for a harem when they're about 4 years old. That's when they reach their full size, where their horns are fully grown, and they're actually big enough to start fighting for them. Now, 1 or 2 younger males might get lucky. They might sneak in and manage to mate with a female while the dominant male is distracted, but for the most part it only really happens when they're about 4 years old. But we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. This is going to continue into around about July or so, first week of July. So this is going to be a continual process. And the females that are not fertilized the first time around will come into their second estrus cycle, which is why you get that extended estrus or rutting period and why you get an extended number of births in this particular part of South Africa. So as we are chased by male impala coming out of every bush, let's go back over to James, who's found he can hear Alice again.
Indeed, hear Alice again. Merciful Alice. Quarantine and Votomi are absent without leave. No, I don't want the whole bush. I just want this little piece. Oh, goodness gracious, it's irritating. Hang on 1 second, everyone. This whole bush is threatening to climb into my car. It doesn't like to be on Cheetah Plains. Observe that briefly, David. And that's what it was. See, our Vernonia has become Vernonia seeds. And David, how do you think that these Vernonia seeds are moved around the place?
The wind.
Let us see if that is correct. See, you see, did you see here? Good. Very good. On we go. That is Vernonia.
You've caught me and you can hear me because I'm listening to the show. I am reading a book at the moment because I have a praying mantis and I'm trying to figure out and identify exactly which praying mantis it is, but it is proving to be quite difficult. Let me show you first. It's another one of the fantastic insects that Sensor has shown or found in the restrooms, the collection of insects, and I presume this is because of all of the lights that are on during the evenings. Anyone that's using them, of course, insects are attracted to light. So you can see this one. Let me hold it over here. It's lost many legs. It's got two pairs of legs left. The front ones, which it uses to catch its prey, and then some little sticks that I think it would maybe walk on. But it is dry, it is old, and I don't know which type of praying mantis this is. I don't think that it is the giant green one because this one is brown, so it'll be one of the others. But I'm going to put it under the microscope now because I want to have a closer look. Let me see if I can indeed manage this. It's so hard. I really, really wish that I could try and describe to you how... No, I don't even need this container. Let me play here. Ah, hang on, almost. Before we even think about going there. It's... Oh, there we go. I need to move it. Yes, because I want the eyes and the head. Sorry to make you all a little bit dizzy. Now, I hope it doesn't blow away. Let me make that sharper. Almost. Yes. Also, again, covered in debris, but how beautiful is that? Now you can see the beautiful compound eye with hundreds, if not thousands, of individual lenses inside of it. You can see it almost looks like a beehive or a cone shape. I would suppose you could call it, or whatever shape you would call that. I have no hectagon, maybe? Something like that. But lots of them. Those are the little lenses. I wonder if we can see the mouth part. So they've got exceptional vision, as you can imagine. It's one of the ways that they are able to catch their prey. Now, they've got very powerful mandibles too, which we cannot see very well because there is so much debris, but you can see the tiny little pedipalps. Let me see if I can point them out to you. Now I'm bringing the tweezers. And I've just, oh no, this is a disaster. Look at me go, pushing the praying mantis out of the way. Now I'm just trying to focus it again. There we go. If you look very, very carefully. This is so difficult. I'm trying to point to where I want to show you. That thing that I just went over, the little things that are sticking out. So those are the pedipalps. They will actually help push the food into the praying mantis's mouth. But if you look very carefully, there we go, George, you've actually agreed with me. You said that it does look just like honeycomb. So yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, George, for not making me feel like too much of an idiot. Now I'm going to try and move it again, and I just can't work out how I'm supposed to go. Now I want to get the legs, because on these legs it's the most incredible spines, and you can see them quite clearly just on this little part of its arms. Look at all those hooks. And because praying mantises, unlike spiders, don't make webs to catch their prey, not all spiders use webs though, praying mantises most certainly don't. They are ambush predators. They've got this amazing camouflage. This one will either be on the ground or perhaps on the bark of a tree. You get the flower mantids, which blend in exceptionally well with flowers, and they wait there waiting for bees and flies. That's what they normally specialize in catching. And well, the same goes for this one. So those little barbs, those little hooks that it does have on its leg will help hold on to its prey so that it can not make an escape. But very, very cool. And it's a pity though that we're missing a couple of legs here, but you can come back to me now, I suppose. Right, are we back? Yes, we're back with me. Fantastic. We won't let this little guy go. We'll put him in a container and try and preserve him for next time. We're going to send you across to James, who has finally caught on to the elephant bandwagon.
Yes, indeed. Onto the elephant bandwagon, and we're going to have to deliver this sequence sitting very still because our signal is dodgy. That's why you lost us when you did, I'm afraid, so sorry about that. But here we are with a youngish elephant bull. I'd say he's about 25. He might be up to 30, which, David, of course, to you is very old, isn't it? 30 is deeply ancient.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. But 40, that is 1 foot in the grave. Anyway, this fellow is eating Vernonia plants, which I think is really quite interesting. He's got a nasty, nasty rip on his tusk there, and on his face. He's obviously had a bit of a fight. He's been hit in the face by another elephant's tusk, but you can see there his right tusk has had the edge kind of cut off it. And I imagine that's probably quite painful. Oh, and you can also see where he's been digging on a tree. Hello, John. A nice question about environmental determinism in terms of elephant tusks. And you say, are they genetically determined or are there environmental factors? I think, like most features, they're largely genetic, but they will be influenced by environment. So, for example, let's use the example of a human being. A human being with a very tall father, or let's say two children with the same father and same mother, if they are born in different areas and are subjected to a different nutritional regime, one very healthy, one very unhealthy, the one child will definitely grow taller than the other, even though they have the same genetic potential. Now, that is probably quite similar with the tusks, but I suspect probably much less affected by nutrition than it is by genetics. I hope that makes sense. So I think it's largely genetic, but obviously a nutritionally compromised animal is going to produce tusks that are smaller than another one if they genetically have the same exact potential. But also, remember that tusks keep growing throughout the elephant's life. And although this chap is never going to have very big tusks, they will grow a little bit larger than they are now. Imagine tusks slightly longer than that, at the ideal sort of length. Those are just a little bit short because, I mean, I'm obviously talking nonsense because I don't know what it's like to be an elephant, but I would imagine slightly short, just because if they are going to be used as an effective defensive weapon, those are rather too close to the face for comfort. And then also, if he does break pieces off, like you can see he has done when he's been digging for bark and trees, then, you don't have a huge amount more to lose. So I think quite nice to have slightly thicker, certainly, and longer tusks. And John, I wonder also if the nutritional status of the animal, especially as a youngster, doesn't play a part in how thick the tusks are, because that's very important for their longevity. There's a rather depressing Twitter handle from somebody called Better Off Dead in Ohio. Let's just pause to give thought for 1 second to the person who has named themselves Better Off Dead. Better Off Dead, you're wondering about tusks that are reversed, so recurved, that go backwards. You wonder what causes that. It's almost certainly genetic. In the same way that the fact that I had tremendously buck teeth as a youngster is genetic. My father also had buck teeth. Mercifully, I've not had to live with them on account of my parents spending an excessive amount of money on orthodontics. But I think it's the same kind of thing. And there are no elephant orthodontists. So unlike me, who has been fixed,
I don't know if you heard this, but I was on Gowrie Main, if anybody was interested. I'm sorry about that. It seems as though somebody vanished off your screen. I'm assuming it was James. It seems as though he's really been attacked by the gremlins. They've arrived to welcome him back. If you're wondering why I was on Gowrie Main, I was just telling Craig about the last time I saw Shongile, which was, because Craig of course has been on leave, which was on Gowrie Main a couple of days ago with Hosanna. And Craig was inquiring about the well-being of Shongile and whether she was looking a little bit better fed. And I was saying that yes, she did. And that it was good to see the two cubs together. So there you go. If you caught any of that previous sentence, that's what we were chatting about. And also, as we coast our way into... Oh, apparently you never heard any of it anyway. Oh well. There you go. As we coast our way into the hyena den, apparently... Also, some of you have been hearing a vibration on our vehicle. That's gremlins in the camera. It's definitely not my mobile phone going off, I can promise you that. It's on aeroplane mode, and I am legally required by law, or at least by Final Controls law, to have it on aeroplane mode for the duration of our safari. So it's definitely not my phone vibrating. Also, I'm not that popular. I don't get that many messages in a day. Alright, hyenas. Please be out and about. Don't see any tracks, and it is cold and it is damp, so there is a chance that everybody's going to be hiding. I also think we're going to be faced with a hyena den move in the not too distant future. I think it's about time for that to happen. Hopefully not yet though. They've never seen us with a roof on, I don't think. And they're not going to today, apparently. All is quiet at the Philemon's Cutline Hyena Den. The nice thing to know, for those of you thinking of our little cubs getting drenched, is that within a hyena den, they make themselves little shelves to sleep in. So they'll stay well out of any water that had run into the hyena den itself. So you don't have to worry about them being cold. They've got each other for company. But they're not here. They are here, I would suspect, just sleeping inside the den. Okay. Well, we'll try again next time. Maybe try again tomorrow on the sunrise safari. While we make our way out of the hyena den again, let's go and see what has attracted the lovely Taylor's attention in the tent.
I'm holding a scalpel. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not going to do anything with the scalpel, but I just thought that I looked very dangerous by holding it. Senzo was shaking in his boots. I just had to check that he was wearing shoes in case he wasn't wearing shoes, and that would have been a horrible lie, and I don't like to lie. What I have done though is I was looking outside, but unfortunately it's getting a little bit dark now to start scavenging around. We've got to be careful of all those elephants that have moved away from the dam, and I can hear them coming closer and closer, possibly to come and feed in the surrounding area. Lots of grasses, lots of nice vegetation for them to eat, so it's a little bit unsafe for us to keep walking around. So I plucked a piece of grass, and if we may please go to the microscope so we can have a closer look. We're looking at a piece of grass that is very beautiful, don't you think? This is known as herringbone grass. It doesn't really look like it very well when it's under the microscope, and we can walk outside in just a moment and go and have a look at it as it grows. But I just think it's such a beautiful sort of rusty color, and just by looking at it with a naked eye, you don't get that stunning look to it, don't you think? It's just absolutely beautiful. Now a lot of it has come off, as you can imagine. I was not very gentle with this piece of grass. I tried to be gentle with the insects, but well, something like grass I'm not too worried about at all. But how great is that? What are those? The seeds. Oh, now I've lost them. Come back, come back. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's come back to me. I'm going to actually pull this piece of grass out. Here it is. Oh, I have to figure it out. But that was a piece of herringbone grass that I've now completely destroyed. Now, you see a lot of it around, and I'm actually going to walk you outside. First, though, we've got to open the box of tricks. It's a bit dark here. I'll move out of the darkness fairly quickly. Got a torch. Let's find the grass while we've got a little bit of light. Here it is, growing right here. When you have a look, growing nice and tall, so you will see lots of it about everywhere you look, all over quarantine, and actually there's quite a few areas out here. Now, the herringbone grass is usually an indication of sort of poor sandy areas, which is all right, but not anything likes to eat it. It's very unpalatable. It doesn't taste very nice. I mean, should I try some? Let's try a little bit. It's not nice at all. I haven't eaten one. Oh, that's horrific. We'll just swallow the rest. But I have not eaten one nice grass out here since I've been here. But it will grow around here. The animals will tend to ignore it. It is a perennial plant, so it's a short-lived type of grass that we get out of here. But it is good for stopping erosion. Can you believe that? So even though the animals might not like to eat it, in those poor sort of sandy areas where erosion can take place quite easily, this is good stuff to hang around. It's probably because nothing wants to eat it. So it, of course, can... Hang on. Who's making noise outside my tent? Not my tent, James's tent. I'm renting it out today. I think it's just the impala running around. Let's go back inside. Ooh. Now, Tash, you're wondering if the elephants would ever bother me in the tent. I'm waiting for them. I'm actually just sitting here very relaxed at the moment, hoping that the elephants are going to come walking on in. And you're wondering this, if they would bother me, and I don't think so. I think they would be quite curious as to the lights and the smells that are perhaps coming from here. I think what would happen is I'd probably just let them do their thing, and if they started to get a little bit too close, I'd announce myself. I'd actually sort of say, hello. Hi, we're here because the next thing, a curiosity can take over an elephant's, sort of focus, and then they can start touching it because they are very curious creatures. I've now got a tickle in my throat because of the herringbone grass. And like bones, you've got to be careful you don't get them stuck inside your throat, especially the fish bones. I feel as though now I know why this is called herringbone grass, is because it gets stuck in your throat when you eat it. Whether you're supposed to eat it or not, I'm not sure. I did. It's not nice, so don't eat it. I'll be the test subject, yeah? But yes, like I said, I'd probably announce myself to the elephants if they got too close, just to let them know that no, you cannot come and touch this type of thing. And hopefully that would be enough to just sort of deter them and push them away. Because they'll push the easel over that's outside. They'll pick up the boxes. They'll play with the once scarecrow that used to live outside. I don't actually know if it's still intact anymore. But they'll pick up the chairs. They'll do all sorts of crazy things. So I think it's just important just to make sure that they do not get in the way and do not destroy the tent. We've got TV coming up and I don't want them to destroy all of these skulls. It is beautiful. There's lots of equipment in here. But they normally leave us alone, but I'm going to sit here patiently and waiting for the next herd of elephants to come on by. Now, I'm just looking at the monitors in the distance, and I can see that Jamie is driving. She's pulling her spotlight out as we speak. Perhaps it's time to find a chameleon.
That sounds like a good plan. I found 2 chameleons after the end of the safari yesterday evening on my way home. So I feel like, and we also did some nighttime filming of Mfumo. So we had plenty of opportunities to spot chameleons as we went along. So I'm hoping, I actually think that sounds like a very good idea, Taylor. I shall search for chameleons. They seem to have been out in full force at the moment. Byron saw 3 yesterday on the Sunset Safari, although, Taylor, I hate to say it, but I think Byron might have overtaken you as the chameleon finding champion. But if I know you like I think I know you, I imagine that you will be back up in front in no time at all. I didn't think about Taylor being bothered by elephants in the tent. We might have to go and rescue her after the Sunset Safari. I'd have to try and get a vehicle in there and transport her back to camp, along with Senzor, who's in there with her. Okay, Craig, chameleon time. Let us find one. I've got to search and concentrate very carefully on searching for chameleons. While I do that, let's find out if James would like to see a chameleon this evening.
Right, we're looking for night creatures. And whether we'll be lucky, I don't know, because we weren't very lucky with day creatures. We had a lovely sighting of that elephant bull. I'm very sorry you lost us there. Anyway, he was having a good time, and he was coming closer and closer towards us, so I'm sad we had to leave him, because he was being quite entertaining. And I don't know how much you missed, or how much you saw of what we were looking at last time, but he lifted his head up, and he was suddenly looking, and we wondered what on earth that was, and I think David and I figured it out, didn't we, David? To planes, and not to put too fine a point on it, there was a sort of waft of, well, shall we say drain, to put it nicely, the drain, and I think he caught whiff of that, and that's why he suddenly lifted his head and started looking around, because we were quite close to the lodge. Anyway, now we this dip today earlier, we had fines to try to get out. Should be okay, but might not be. If not, we will definitely see you on the other side of it. New. Alrighty, I don't think our signal is very good. Let's go back across to Jamie.
Hold on. Oh dear, it seems as though poor James has brought the gremlins back with him. We'll have to keep battering them away as he continues on. Let's see if we can find a chameleon. I haven't found one yet, but Craig was just telling me about the time that he spotted one during the day in dense vegetation or in a very, very thick bush. I'm impressed, because that's not easy to do. Nighttime is a little bit easier. A lot of people are initially impressed by a guide's ability to find a chameleon, because they think it seems like a difficult task. But chameleons actually stick out a lot more during the evenings than they do during the day. So, okay, Corsa, off you go. You'll see that I turned my headlights off, and that's just because there was a bird in the road, and they will stay in the road unless you turn the lights off. There's another one in the road. Different one this time. Nightjar. Of course, at this time of day, we're out searching for nocturnal creatures. And back it goes. Bonnie, you want to know what my favorite nighttime animal is? It's always difficult to choose. The last time I was asked this question, my instant response was honey badger, and I think I'm going to stick with that. It was only a few days ago that I said it. Honey badgers are pretty awesome. Dave, I think, said his was a serval. Dave was with me at the time. Craig, what's your favorite nighttime animal? Craig? Honey badger or python. Okay. Craig is going honey badger too, or python, did you say? Python's pretty epic. I haven't seen any pythons though. Bonnie, what's yours? What's your favorite nocturnal animal? I also really like geneths and bush babies, and it just, once you start thinking about them and all of their characteristics, it becomes harder and harder to choose what nocturnal animals you get to, or you enjoy the most. I think in Kenya, in the Mara, we're going to see a lot more serval than we do here. We do see them every now and again, but not all that regularly. So more serval sightings will be something to look forward to. I love pangolin, but we hardly ever see them, and they're such mysterious creatures. Oh. I don't quite know if I heard that correctly, but apparently Taylor's been planning on something scary in the tent.
I don't think my friends in the tent are very scary, Jamie. I've decided to have my own fireside chat. As you can see, I've got many guests. I've got the zebra on my lap. We've got an antelope pile, and of course we've got Jerry the giraffe joining us today. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming through this evening. They've traveled far and wide from all across the world to be here on this sunset safari. Very nice. What do you have to say about it, zebra? Nay! Zebras of course don't neigh. Horses neigh, but I don't know how to do the bleating noise of a zebra. James, however, can do a very good noise. But I just thought that, you know, we're sort of the spokespeople for the animals out here. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but we sort of didn't tell you all about the animals, and I thought that we should hear it from ourselves, for ourselves, from all of these wonderful animals over here. So who are we going to start with? I think we'll start with, well, a very outspoken animal that seems to cause quite a bit of havoc around camp, and we'll speak to one of the ancestors of the Gowrie gang. As you can see, the Gowrie gang, beautiful here, beautiful big baboon. Now, what do you have to say for yourself? What do you have to say about the behavior of your ancestors that come into camp and raid us all the time? What do you think about that? I think it is absolutely hilarious, Taylor. It is the funniest thing in the whole world. I always used to tell the young baboons in the family many years ago about rummaging through the camps and stealing all sorts of wonderful things from people. It's my favorite, and I particularly like James's nuts that he has to bring in all the way from Johannesburg. those are my absolute favorite. So every time James has got some fruit and nuts and Banting diet and all sorts of wonderful things like that, I make sure and I pass it on through body language, and when I don't actually know how I pass it on, it's just amazing, maybe through the stories, but I always tell the baboons, leave everybody else's stuff alone, but go and find Mr. Henry's nuts and fruit. That's ridiculous. That's not very nice. James has spent a lot of money on buying those nuts. I don't think it's a joke at all. Very rude, and you get booted out of the tea party. Right, baboon goes away now. We'll have to have a chat to some other intellectual animals here. Speaking of Mr. Henry, let's go and find out what he thinks about the baboons constantly stealing his food.
Here we are, we're live. Good. There was a amount of confusion there, but no. All's well, it ends well. We have a bit of signal. Continue our little drive. I will tell you that I resent the baboons for the stuff called Heba. I don't think you get it anywhere other than South Africa. In fact, I don't think you get it anywhere other than in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Anyway, it's this amazing sort of mixture of, what would we call it, seeds and coconut flour and almond flour, and you can make bread or porridge or muffins or anything you like, really, and it's delicious. And I had 2 lovely mornings of warm Heba porridge, only to come home on Thursday morning to find the baboons had eaten it all. I'm very, very upset about that, and I said bad words 3 or 4 times. I have no one else to blame but myself, of course, on account of the fact that I left it out. Someone is about to be blinded. They're coming down the road towards us. Who can it be now? There's somebody very cryptic. Now they are in reverse. I think it's Cheetah planes. They're always very polite on the road. Uber polite. There we go. It's definitely Cheetah planes. It's Andrew. Inkomo. Inkomo. Andrew says, thank you very much and have a nice sleep. Well, not just yet, Andrew, but yes, your sentiment is much appreciated. Put all the lights back on. About 76 switches one must push. And I believe that there is a request for me to tell you what my favorite night animal is. My favorite night animal is... What is my favorite night animal? My favorite night animal, I suppose, would be... Other than... No. Because I think an aardvark would be my favorite night animal. I've only ever seen aardvark in the wild, and that has been both after 10 o'clock at night. And so I quite like aardvark. And aardvark, of course, now I've seen 3, one of which was very dead here, unfortunately. Right, Jamie has managed to find the object of her desire.
Well, the object of my search, at least, perhaps might be a way of phrasing it for this evening. And Taylor wants to know if I was going to find any chameleons. Well, there you go, Taylor. This chameleon is for you. I find chameleons absolutely adorable, and this is a really tiny one as well. Just clinging onto the branch. It looks so cold, poor little thing. In this horrible, rainy, chilly weather, to be a reptile and to be an ectotherm, so reliant on external temperatures, is really not all that pleasant. Little thing. To give you a sense of scale, that chameleon's probably about the length of my finger, about my forefinger, give or take. So it's actually quite a tiny one. We've seen some giant chameleons over the last rainy season, and of course these are going to be some of the last sightings that we have of them as we go into the dry season, and they find themselves a suitable place to go and estivate. I have to confess, I'm surprised by the number of chameleons we've been seeing this late into the year. And what's more, not just that we're seeing lots of chameleons, the fact that we're seeing more chameleons than we did in the height of summer. And I'm quite surprised by that, I have to tell you. Look at its little tail all tucked up underneath it. Did I tell you? I can't remember if I told you the story about my return journey from when I went to Hoedspruit briefly to go and collect some stuff. And I came back along the dirt road, and George, by the way, you're absolutely right. It does look exactly like a leaf. But there is a trick to spotting them, and it's actually quite easy to do. Anyway, so I passed Tristan on his way into Hoedspruit when I was coming back to the reserve, and he said to me, "Why don't you just go and rescue that chameleon that's on the road?" And I drove back, and I went to where he told me to go, and unfortunately that chameleon was past rescuing. It had been hit by a car that had come obviously before Tristan, or perhaps after Tristan actually. So I carried on, and then I saw the next chameleon crossing the road, very much alive, and I leapt out of the car with the memory of the previous chameleon fresh in my mind, and I raced towards it, and I scooped it up very gently onto my hand, and I took it to the opposite side of the road, where I placed it gently down, and it bit me. And just to say thank you, it bit me. I was thoroughly unimpressed. Well, actually, I wasn't unimpressed at all. I had to have a chuckle, because as far as this thing knew, an alien had just come in, scooped it off when it was just minding its own business. I could have been a bird of prey for all it knew, and I just grabbed it. And I think chameleons prefer to move relatively slowly, so I must have been basically moving at the speed of light in his mind, or her mind, and then plonked down. Perhaps not quite exactly where it was aiming for. Anyway, so my gratitude was to be bitten by the chameleon. Their bites don't hurt at all, just feels a little bit odd. Doesn't feel like anything at all. It's quite sweet, actually. Alright, one chameleon tick. Let's go off in search of another one. Now, Lady Lawyer, you want to know where chameleons live during the day. Exactly where we see them at night. They live in the trees, in the dense vegetation. They're just really hard to see at night. I mean, during the day. So to see them during the day, it takes a special kind of skill, because they blend in so very, very well with their surroundings. At night, a lot of chameleons actually become a bit paler in color. And because of the spotlight, and I think the nature of our vision as human beings at this time of evening, with the spotlight, they reflect the light clearer than a leaf does. And they're actually quite easy to spot. Sometimes they even glow white when your light passes over them. So it's just much easier for us to see them during the evening than at night. During the night than during the day. I don't know why I'm getting my nights and days mixed up. You know what I mean, though. We see them on bushwalk. We occasionally see them crossing the road during the day. They are around. Important thing to remember. Chameleon! Found number 2. I think the roof's going to get in the way. Can you see it there, Craig? Hey, there we go. Chameleon number 2. Important thing to remember with chameleons is that they are territorial. So not that you should be really handling them anyway, but if you do pick them up, then they should go back where you found them. Alright, that's 2 chameleons for the evening. I'm happy. Let's go and find out how James's tally is going.
We had a small problem with my earpiece there, but we're okay now. We're live again, and everyone is okay. Phew. There are lots and lots of wildebeest on the quarantine clearings, where we are completing this afternoon's sojourn into the wet and windy wilderness. That's 3 W's there in a row. Did you see that, David? Unfortunately, there was a distinct absence of predators, and in fact, much else where I went. But as I was saying to David, the big highlight of the drive, impala mating. Don't see that very often. It was very brief. If you blinked, you would most certainly have missed it. It happens in the blink of the proverbial eye. The male impala, very, very accurate he has to be. Let me just turn off all these. Oh, we've got so many lights on this car. Whoops, now I'm hooting at them. Sorry, chaps. I do apologise. This is some impala and wildebeest that I don't want to frighten. Good. Was that something, David? Well, nothing. Are we okay? Okay. My earpiece is a little dodgy. Hello, Sky Doody. You're wondering how we keep food safe in the camp from the baboons. Well, what we do is we just put it in a cupboard and shut the door. It's really not very difficult at all. It's just that we're not very clever, and so we sometimes leave stuff out. You know, people get up at 4 in the morning, pour themselves their coffee, or in my case their Heba, and then because, you know, we're a bit tired from getting up so early, we forget to just put it inside and shut the door. It's really not hard at all. So it's perfectly possible to keep things completely safe from baboons. It's just human idiocy, I'm afraid, that results in us not doing it. Okay, everyone, that's going to be it from our drive. Thank you, David, for your efforts today. Big thank you to Alice in the final control, Taylor in the tent, and, of course, Jamie on the other vehicle, and associated cameraman Craig and Sensor. All right, everyone, we'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you for coming on our drive with us today.